Thank you for watching our Sunday Kickoff show. I am Fidel Barraza. Alongside with me, Jerry Martinez, Sania Blue, Kendall Whitley, Walter Stringer, Coach Hugh Jackson, and Isaac Durham. How's everyone doing?
Great.
Wonderful.
Sundays.
Great.
Great, great Sunday, and it looks like it's finally winter here in California. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's start off by talking a little bit about Week 8. What stood out to you the most? Start with Jerry.
I mean, when you look at it, I had to write some notes here, right? But overall, I mean, when you look at this season, it's the COVID season, right? And obviously, the teams that have had the most depth at every position are the ones that are still, winning or making their way to the playoffs. But I mean, a couple teams to stand out, obviously the Chiefs, the Steelers, and then the Bucks. Man, are the Bucks really? Do we really think the Bucks will be in the Super Bowl this year, or will the Seahawks pull it off?
Sania.
I'm going to say something that stood out to me were the Bengals, no doubt. The Titans could not get a hand on Joe Burrow, and the Bengals are one of the most sacked teams in the league. So I think just the offensive line really stepped up in a way that I don't think I was even expecting, because I was saying that the Titans were going to take the game, but stepped up in that way. And the Titans had more rushing yards, but still the Bengals handled business.
Kendall.
I'm gonna stick with that Bengals and Titans game. Titans, they were two games straight. They went to struggle. They struggled down there. So it'll be interesting to see if they can rebound this week.
Walter.
Yeah, I'm going to go right back to that Bengals Titans game as well. Strike up a few concerns for the Titans. They've lost 2 straight now after starting 5-0. Defensively, they've given up 58 points in those 2 games and a total of 50 first downs. 27 of those first downs came from the number 1 overall pick on the opposite sideline, Joe Burrow, who looked pretty solid once again. No gaudy numbers, wasn't sacked. He just completed 70% of his passes for 249 to 2 touchdowns. So I'm really concerned about what's going on with Tennessee right now. I know they went out and they traded for King. He should help out a lot, but I think the real issue is within that front 7.
Isaac.
Yeah, that Miami Dolphins defense really impressed me in Week 8. They forced 4 turnovers from Jared Goff, 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles. 1 was returned for a touchdown, and they also had a punt return touchdown. So they made life easy for Tua last week. They're now 4-3, second place behind the 6-2 Buffalo Bills. So I'm excited to see how they do this week against the Arizona Cardinals.
Coach.
What really stood out to me was the Pittsburgh-Baltimore game. To watch Baltimore just dominate statistically in the game. They rushed for 265 yards against the Steelers and still end up losing the game. So there's some issues there, obviously, but boy, that was really different for me.
And what stood out to me is Tom Brady can still play quarterback at 43 years old. And the other deal, Cowboys are really bad. I mean, they really got to figure out this quarterback situation for the rest of the season. We saw all Gucci. It was not all Gucci with Danucci on Sunday night against the Eagles. It looked like the moment was too big for him. And I think he even said a comment after the game that it's not easy playing quarterback in this league.
Well, to be fair, right, and a non-Cowboys hater, that whole NFC East looks like trash right now. I mean, look at Carson Wentz. I'm a big Carson Wentz fan, and I mean, he looks like he's struggling.
Yeah, that whole division.
Well, I had a quick question for Coach too about the Ravens. How big of an issue do you think Marshall Yonder no longer being there is for that team?
Huge issue, because he was the glue for the offensive line. There's no question about that. It's an issue, but boy, I think there's some other issues that run deep too.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember Lamar making a statement last season and the year before that Marshall Yonder, he was the OG of the team. Everybody listened to him, and as he said, goes. So I think when you lose, people think a guard doesn't matter. Guards matter a lot, and I think losing him.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about some. Yeah, go ahead, Sunil.
I'm sorry. I also had a question for Coach. Since we brought up Carson Wentz, at what point does his performance scare the Eagles so much that they could let Jalen Hurts see the field?
I think when they start losing consistently, you still got to let Carson ride this out. They still, they're leading the division right now, so you got to let it just kind of run its course. But he does need to play better. There's no question about that. But they also need to protect him better and get some better receivers out there, consistently to give him the best chance to showcase his talent.
Who's the leader in that division, Coach?
Isn't it the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, I'm just saying when you look at it, like, I mean, do you trust the Carson Wentz against?
You have to right now. What else? Who else is it? Like you're saying, it's not Dallas, it's not the Giants, it's not Washington. So
I was thinking, like, man, maybe the Washington, just because of their defense, they could probably be the
quarterback is going to make a difference in that.
Well, that's true.
It's all said and done.
Well, would you keep rolling with Kyle Allen, Coach?
I wouldn't. I was surprised at that. I know that he knows the system better that the young Turner runs. But at some point in time, if Alex Smith is healthy and he's on your roster and you're paying him, you got to let him play.
Yeah,
most definitely. All right, let's talk real quick about Thursday Night Football. Green Bay Packers at the San Francisco 49ers. Packers dominated the Niners 34-14. Obviously, Niners had a bunch of issues the day before the game with Kendrick Bourne testing positive for COVID-19. And then it came back that it was a negative positive. So they're out Trent Williams, a lot of different players. So they were undermanned. Aaron Rodgers was 25-31 for 305 and 4 touchdowns. And Devontae Adams, another monster game, 10 catches for 173 yards and 1 touchdown. Packers are now 6-2. There's not really anything else to say about this game, honestly. So let's go and move on. All right, let's check in with Sania, and she's going to give us her injuries and coronavirus update.
Yes, indeed. Actually, earlier this week, in terms of COVID-19, the ESPN already put out a report that about 15 teams in the league are struggling with COVID. So as the winter comes about, as flu season comes up, this is something that we definitely need to pay attention to and be mindful of. The Browns actually had to add Baker Mayfield to that list after another player tested positive on Saturday. So that's going to be a big question. He's not going to be playing, though, for today. And then the Ravens, also Marlon Humphrey tested positive for COVID-19. I believe we have some other players who are also on that list that you'll have to watch out for. And because NFL is still getting really strong with monitoring COVID and even just being in high contact, we're going to see that throughout the next few weeks. But in terms of injuries, so to start off at the top of the list with the Arizona Cardinals, their cornerback, they are out for Jerry Kirkpatrick. They are also missing Kenyon Drake. He's also out. We know with that ankle injury. The Falcons, they're out for McKinley, and they're missing another defensive end in Dante Fowler Jr. He has been ruled out. And going on to the Ravens, they're also struggling in the defensive end without Marlon Humphrey, as I brought up, and LJ Fort. He's out with a finger injury. And he was activated off the COVID-19 list yesterday, but again, that finger injury has him out. And then for the Bills, Josh Norman, not there. You have Tywan Jones, not there. You have Mitch Morse, again, not there, all out. And then for the Panthers, their biggest out is going to be their offensive tackle, Russell Okung. And really the rest of their team is kind of more so on the questionable side than official outs. So that's a little bit more promising. Plus, they already activated Christian McCaffrey. That's going to be something really interesting to watch. For the Bears are looking a little banged up, especially on the defensive side. Deion Bush is out. John Jenkins is also out. And, guys, this kind of frustrated me a little bit because Mitchell Trubisky was only in there for one play, and he is ruled out in terms of injuries as well. So I was like, all right, that's cool. So Nick Foles we need him to be safe. Now for the Bengals, Jonah Williams, Michael Jordan, John Ross III, Bobby Hart, all of those, Trey Hopkins are all out. For the Bengals, Deontay Spencer, we won't see him on the field. He has a shoulder injury. I'm sorry, I said for the Broncos. And then Tracy Walker, Jamal Anger is out. Let's see. And then also for the Packers are having significant outs on defense. So we'll have to see how they also come up this week. And let's go to the Kansas City Chiefs. They are not going to have Sammy Watkins this week. He has that hamstring injury, so he will not be playing. And Gardner Minshew also out for the Jaguars. That's going to be a question of seeing how well they do today. And let's see. Your Ravens are looking too bad right now, Fidel. Theo Riddick is out, but you also have Arden Key and Maurice Hurts who are out for defense. Those are probably, I think, right now. Oh, and then the Patriots, N'Keal Harry, JJ Taylor, both of those players being out. And Kawan Alexander for the Saints. Golden Tate is not going to be there for the Giants. Deontay Freeman's not going to be there for the Giants either. And the Philadelphia Eagles are looking a little banged up too on both sides of the ball. But the 49ers are still the most hit team in the league. Still the most hit team in the league. To go down all that list is going to be ridiculous. But just a few names: Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams, Kendrick Bourne. We already talked about that. And the Seattle Seahawks also are having some trouble on both ends of the ball in terms of their injuries as well. And the Tennessee Titans have a few injury reserves that are recent with Brent Kern and Ty Smith. So that's your not so brief injury update.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And we actually do have some breaking news. Bleacher Report is reporting that Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks have agreed on a 5-year extension. So it looks like Pete Carroll's not going to go anywhere soon, and this makes him one of the highest paid coaches in the league.
Man, that guy's old. I'm sorry.
Man, that man's living off of Russ. He's living off Russ so long.
Let the man breathe.
I'll just say I think he's 77 years old.
He don't look like it. He looks like he's 40.
How much coaching is? I just want to ask the question: how much coaching is really going? First of all, he's won a Super Bowl, but how much hardcore coaching is really going on in Seattle now? Given the fact that that team has been kind of bad since the Legion of Boom broken up, they haven't been able to stop the run, stop the pass. They can't pass block, run block. So how much of it is really Pete Carroll?
Man, that's a great question.
A lot of it. I mean, he's still creating the environment. I mean, I think at the end of the day, that's what head coaches do. They make sure things get done. He has a tremendous, cast of coaches. Brian Schottenheimer on offense, Ken Norton Jr. on defense, and I forget exactly who's running special teams, but I think the head coach sets the tempo and the environment for the organization, for the players, and I think people are following that lead.
So what about the actual personnel issue?
That's Snyder. John Snyder and him, obviously they are lacking in some things, but you watch them try to be better in acquiring Carlos Dunlap. I don't know what he'll do for their team truly. They probably didn't see anything else out there that they thought would make a difference. But I agree with you. But when you watch a team get rid of so many veteran players that fast, normally you think there's a big plan. But obviously they thought they had some younger guys that were going to ascend, and maybe those guys haven't panned out as fast as they thought. But look at the record. They're playing well, but we all are waiting for them to take that big loss at an inopportune time because we feel like they're lacking on defense.
Hashtag fight on. Congrats, Pete. Keep coaching.
Wait a minute. You say fight on. He's a University of Pacific guy just like me. Okay? We're Pacific guys. UOP.
But Coach, being more specific, last college tender he has as a head coach was at SC. So
No doubt. No doubt.
hashtag fight on.
I mean, also, I'm sure that a contract extension is helping him feel real young.
Oh yeah,
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
it is.
that should
All
never
right.
knock a man's age.
Yeah. All right, guys. So obviously the story that's not going anywhere is COVID-19. So as weeks have gone by, there's been more teams and more coaches being fined for COVID-19 protocol violations. So let's check in with Ailey Hassad with that story.
Hey guys, I joined the show a little bit late, but I just want to make sure, Fidel, can you
Yes,
hear
I can.
me through this microphone? Okay. All right. So the Las Vegas Raiders have been fined $500,000 and stripped of a 6th-round pick for the 2021 draft. And the coach, John Gruden, has been fined an additional $150,000 by the NFL for what one source described to ESPN as repeated violations of COVID-19 protocols. So this came after the Raiders had already been docked $250,000, and Gruden, he was docked $100,000 for not wearing his mask properly during the team's Week 2 home opener. And then the team was fined an additional $50,000 for allowing a non-credentialed employee access to the locker room following that game. Also, tight end Darren Waller was fined $30,000, and along with 9 teammates, including the quarterback Derek Carr, who was dinged $15,000 for appearing at a Waller Foundation charity event maskless, mixing with the crowd. So in total, the Las Vegas Raiders have racked up $1.185 million in fines for breaking COVID-19 protocols. So that is the latest for the COVID-19, situation.
You know what you could do with $1.5 million? A whole lot.
A lot.
Hey, what's the league do with that money? I'm just wondering.
They, I mean, that's the petty cash that they have. So they disperse
You got
it.
a lot of petty cash.
That's a whole lot, right?
Hey,
It makes
what is
sense.
the petty cash used
Hey.
for?
Hey,
It's not petty.
Finding
Like,
people?
I don't think
Hey.
it's petty. They could, obviously this is a really serious thing that a lot of people don't recognize, because just because we hear it so much in the media, I think we become desensitized to the fact oh, this person wasn't wearing a mask, they got fined. But in actuality, it is a really big deal.
Yeah.
Especially
It's huge.
for how many people's lives they can put at stake. We've heard this so many times. So I don't think it's necessarily petty cash or whatever. They need to learn from their mistakes, or else we're not going to get through this whole season.
I
But
totally
not-
agree, but it's so hard for
Yeah.
coaches, head coaches, to wear face coverings when they're having to talk to officials, talk to their players, deal with all that. I mean, that's why, as you've seen, Mark Davis is really fighting the league on this particular fine. I mean, and there's going to be more.
Yeah.
And it's just hard. I mean, how do you, a natural instinct, and I agree with you, we all have to be safe and those things, but that's the head coach. He has so many people he has to answer to on the sideline, and we're worried that every now and then his face mask is off or down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw a situation last night in that Clemson Notre Dame game where Dabo Sweeney was furious about a touchdown being reviewed. So he was wearing his face coverings, but I don't know if the officials couldn't tell that he was mad. So he took it off and he let them know how he felt. So completely understand what you're talking about there. And then also, too, the league did fine Mike Tomlin as well for last week for not wearing his face covering against the Baltimore Ravens. But of course, same deal. I think there was a call at the end of the game that he was frustrated with, and he took off the face shield and he let the official know how he felt.
I think this is also particularly interesting to watch how the NFL is monitoring athletes off the field and what they're doing outside of the arenas, what they're doing outside of, the stadiums, what they're doing outside of their facilities and stuff like that. For Darren Waller to get that fine, and he was in a sports-oriented place, but he wasn't in an official, facility.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing how that is changing and how the NFL is cracking down on that has been particularly interesting to me as well.
All right. So tonight we have a huge game. I think this is game of the day. The New Orleans Saints at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, this is the second showdown between Drew Brees and Tom Brady this year. We saw obviously Tom Brady struggled week 1 against the Saints in New Orleans, but I think today we might see a different game. What are your thoughts, Jerry?
Man, I think I had been very critical of Tom Brady in the past. I said that he was a system quarterback. Obviously, I've learned my lesson. He is showing that he is not a system quarterback, and wow, um, I think that the Buccaneers are gonna take this win today.
Sania.
I mean, this is clearly it's a divisional matchup that in which Brady looks completely different than he did week 1. He looks completely different. I mean, it didn't take him long to start looking like his old self. Plus, you have Antonio Brown and possibly Chris Godwin. I mean, the Saints are really just going to need to be essential on that defensive end with a pass rush, the same pass rush, if not better, that they had against the Bears last week, as well as in the run game. They're going to need to really stop that run game and minimize the amount of time that Brady has on the field. He's struggled a bit with the run options, but we know that Brady can make Brady passes. So plus that Bucs defense is going to be all over Kamara.
Isaac.
Well, you could say this is kind of a revenge game for Brady and the Buccaneers already. There's a lot of things going on in this game. Antonio Brown's debut. Michael Thomas is back for Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. It's in Tampa Bay, so I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be more of a defensive game, though. I know, you look at both offenses, you think there's going to be, back and forth, high power, but I think the team that cracks down on the defense and the team that actually runs the ball better will turn out in this game, but I expect a close one and a good one.
Walter.
Yeah, I agree. I think Tampa has made improvements all across the board since week 1. That defense looks pretty solid. It's amazing. And a lot of that same personnel that's there today, it was there last year under Jameis Winston. And it's just amazing how changing the guy under center and changing a few other things can completely change the entire morale of a team. So that team believes they can win. They believe they should win. They've got playmakers on both sides of the football. I know Carlton Davis is tied for the league lead in interceptions. Davis playing well. The defensive line is playing well. The offensive line has steadily gotten better. Tristan Wirfs has improved. So I think Tampa's teams are running into a buzzsaw right now playing Tampa Bay.
Coach.
Well, it's going to be a big-time atmosphere. Obviously, Sunday Night Football. Tom Brady has never been swept. Now, Drew Brees is 4-2 against Tom Brady. So this is going to be a tremendous game. I truly believe the Bucs will prevail. But having Michael Thomas back, we're going to find the New Orleans Saints passing game is going to be better. Having AB back, will he impact the game, or will there be an issue because they're trying to get him the ball? I just think all of those things will fall into it. I think if he just lets the game come to him, I think this would be an easy game for the Bucs. But if they're really trying to get him going, it could end up working against them a little bit. These things happen in these kind of games. So I'm gonna go with the Bucs, and let's see where this thing goes.
Alia.
All right. I don't know if you guys can see, but I am supporting the OG Bush Saints jersey. So I'm going to have to go with the Saints. I'm going to be different here. They're about to add one of the 2 greatest receivers of the past decade, Antonio Brown and Michael Thomas. But I feel like no matter how many players are out for the Saints, they've always found a way to win each time, like these past 4 weeks. So now that the Saints are closer to being more healthy and they're at their full strength this time, I believe that they are going to win. But I do think it's going to be a really close game. I don't think they're going to blow them out of the water or anything like that. I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to be a really exciting
Kendall.
game too.
All right, we'll come back to Kendall. All right. This is kind of gone under the radar this week. I think Drew Brees has been having some shoulder issues, from what I've read. So we'll see. He's going to be able to get the ball to all his receivers and toys that he has in New Orleans. Look, I think this is going to be a revenge game. I think Tom Brady's going to go off. It might be a close game, but I don't think the score is going to indicate what type of game this is going to be. You got to remember, Tom Brady got embarrassed week 1. That was a hard pill to swallow for him, especially it was his first game not being in a Patriots uniform. So I don't think he's forgotten about that. And Antonio Brown is back, right? I mean, this guy looks like he stayed in shape, and I think he's going to make a huge impact on tonight's game. And I think the Bucs are going to win.
So for my kind of rebuttal or whatever for that is Antonio Brown hasn't been practicing with this team all season, you know? There's, like I've mentioned so many times before, that if field chemistry is so important. So I think it could hurt them, honestly, but at the same time, you don't know because we haven't seen him in so long.
Two things. So Tom Brady actually has a new roommate, and it happens to be Antonio Brown. So I think, they've been practicing, I think he's going to be fine. And for Antonio Brown, I think he stayed ready. I don't think he stopped practicing or anything like that. By himself, of course. But I do feel like he is going to have an impact in today's game.
And those corners have been playing lights out too for that defense. So,
well, just so you guys know, Lattimore and whoever the other corner is, I don't know who it is in New Orleans. They wasn't at Tom's house covering Antonio Brown when they were working out. So a little different.
That matters a lot, man. That matters a lot.
Walt, I see your eyes as my man Fidel was going through it. I don't care who you stay with, unless those defenders don't.
Well, I mean, we'll
That's
see.
a whole different game, babe.
Well, hey, we'll see. We'll see tonight, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're halfway through the NFL season, so let's give out some hardware. Mid-season awards. So let's go through MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year. We're not going to do every award because that would take up the whole day, obviously. So start off with Jerry.
Man, so Coach, I guess we're going to have to give Mike Tomlin some love, right? So, I believe that he would get that award. Team, we're doing team, right?
Doing MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year.
So it's kind of crazy, right? Because I wanna say a rookie, but all right, I'll say the rookie. Jeremy Chin has been playing lights out for that Panthers defense, and man, they've been able to put together some good games. They haven't been able to seal the deal, but I like what Jeremy Chin's doing. But go ahead and give me both defensive backs from the Buccaneers. They've been playing lights out. I mean, they look like ball hawks out there. So those are my awards.
Sunil.
I would probably agree with Jerry in terms of coach. Now, for defensive player, can we just put all the Steelers D-line, can we put all of them in one person? Make them a transformer or something like that. Because as a whole, the Steelers defense has been just a clinic. Minkah Fitzpatrick has really stepped up his game. Especially I just think about that matchup with the Ravens, especially in that game. And with just their turnover ratio, I'm gonna make just the whole Steelers team a transformer. That's my defense player. In terms of MVP, I'm not against what Jerry said in terms of thinking about a rookie being in this position, because rookies have really kind of stood up. Even Justin Herbert, he's not. Naturally, as a team, they still have a lot of work to do, but his arm. I'm not saying he's winning MVP, but he's a great rookie candidate for the job.
Isaac.
Well, as we know, we're halfway through. A lot of things can change, but I think the clear-cut MVP of the regular season so far is Russell Wilson. He's thrown 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and it always reflects off your team's record too. Seattle's 6-1. For my Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett. He's tied for the league lead in sacks with 9, and he has 4 forced fumbles. And then, yes, Mike Tomlin, I think, is the Coach of the Year so far. The team has started 7-0 for the first time since 1978.
Walter.
Okay, well, Isaac has the same 2 players I had. I had Myles Garrett for Defensive Player of the Year and also Russ for MVP. Now, as far as Coach of the Year, I'm going to go a little off the radar. I'm going to go with Frank Wright in Indianapolis. And I got a few reasons why. I think people underestimate how difficult it is to win with the type of team he has in this day and age. That team is strictly a defensive football team. And I got a few numbers I want to go through for you guys here.
All right.
Now, if you look at the Colts defensively, they're first in the league in first downs given up. They're first in the league in interceptions. They're second in the league in total yards given up. They're second in the league against the run. They're second in the league in yards per carry. They're fifth in points given up, and they're fifth against the pass. Now, they're doing all of that with an offense that is bottom half in the league in passing and rushing and touchdowns. So I think people are really underestimating the job that Frank Wright is doing, considering the fact he's doing it with Phillip Rivers. So I don't really even care mentioning that guy's name that much. But they're doing all of this with a $25 million quarterback this year who's giving them nothing. So if people would just take a step back and realize the job that Frank Wright is currently doing in Indianapolis.
Sorry, I'm trying to make my best Adam Gase impression with the eyes. Coach.
Hey, listen, it's not always about who has the highest record or who has the best player. Sometimes it comes down to what coach is doing the best jobs.
100% agree with you. Coach.
No doubt. MVP, Russell Wilson. No question in my mind. The coach, I had a toss-up between Brian Flores and Mike Tomlin, because I think what Flores is doing at the Dolphins is unbelievable. For them leading the league in points allowed, says a lot about the job he's doing, and they're in the thick of it in their division. Defense is Aaron Donald. I mean, he plays nose guard in 3 technique. He is one of the league leaders in sacks. He's not an edge rusher. I mean, you cannot disregard what this man does week in and week out. On offense, rookie Joe Burrow. It's not even close. And I think defense is Antoine Winfield of the Buccaneers.
Man, he's playing lights out too.
Yes,
man.
he is.
And Aaron Donald, Tua had some struggles because he was trying to, say hi to Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald didn't even give him the time of day. So he is all focused in tunnel vision when he's on that field.
Yes.
Alia.
So for Defensive Player of the Year, I was thinking Myles Garrett too, but Aaron Donald is another one. And then no one mentioned TJ Watt, and which is crazy because TJ Watt, he's a dominant pass rusher. He's doing it on one of the most aggressive defenses in the league. So I would say that for my Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, obviously Russell Wilson, but I do think Patrick Mahomes or Kyler Murray do have a chance of maybe getting it too, but it just depends how obviously the rest of the season plays out. And then Coach of the Year, Mike Tomlin. Like, how could you not give it to him? So yeah.
All right. So for me, MVP Russell Wilson. He's thrown so far for 2,151 yards, 26 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, and he has a QB rating of 120.8. Defensive Player of the Year, Aaron Donald. I mean, enough, right, with the name Aaron Donald, right? I mean, you guys already know what he does. He makes a huge difference for the Rams. Coach of the Year, I'm going to say Mike Tomlin, but I think we got to start showing some love to Cliff Kingsbury down there in Arizona. I think what he's doing with that offense is great. It's actually the #1 offense in football, and they actually asked Kyler Murray how he felt about that, and he was kind of taken back because he wasn't aware of it. So those were my midseason awards. Yeah, and then also, Stu, sorry, I forgot, Rookie of the Year, Joe Burrow down there in Cincinnati.
And can those MVPs, Russell Wilson, and he also has Justin Herbert as his Rookie of the Year, and Des Bryant is his Comeback Player of the Year.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. Des Bryant has been activated by the Baltimore Ravens, so he will play in today's game.
Comeback? He ain't go nowhere.
Wait, he said Comeback Player of the Year?
Yeah, I just added it.
He's not come back. He's just been lingering
but he hasn't
around.
went anywhere. He hasn't even took the field yet.
He can't catch a break.
Oh God.
Why you guys?
All
Why you guys do that to Kendall, man?
Well, why'd you do that to him?
If we could just
Right,
get a screenshot of
you
Coach
let us
Jackson's
into this,
face as Jerry read out Kendall's.
Well,
I-
Kendall said it was his rookie of the year and his, but he just said, look, he also said this. His bold prediction is Des Bryant is going to have 5 catches, 55 yards, and a TD, and he's going to throw up the X for the first time since 2017. So,
all right, moving along. All right, so let's check in fantasy
look,
football.
there from the
Let's
man
see.
himself.
I did not say comeback. All right, perfect. All right, moving along. Fantasy football. Who we starting? Who we sitting? Let's check in with Isaac.
All right, so I got a long list here that I'm going to go through at the quarterback position. I'm going to start with the starts. Josh Allen has a great matchup against the Seahawks this week. Seattle's given up the most fantasy points so far in the league this year. Justin Herbert has a great matchup against the Raiders this week. He throws for a ton of yards. He's been on a roll lately. The Raiders are in the bottom 10 against the pass this season. At the running back position, Chase Edmonds is going to take Kenyon Drake's place as the starting running back for the Arizona Cardinals. Expect a big game from him. Last week when he filled the void, he had 21.5 PPR points. David Johnson is another start as well for the Houston Texans against the Jaguars. He's been very consistent this year as far as fantasy numbers go. So he doesn't like rush for a ton of yards. He doesn't rush for a ton of touchdowns, but he consistently gets double-digit fantasy points. He's only fell short of double-digit fantasy points once this season. The Jaguars are not great against defending the run. Starting for wide receivers this week, I got Cole Beasley in there against the Seahawks. Like I said, the Seahawks give up a ton of fantasy points to the quarterback position, but they also give up the most fantasy points to the wide receiver position as well. So expect Cole Beasley to have a big day, Stephon Diggs, maybe even John Brown. And then Chase Claypool should be penciled into your starting lineup as well. He's going against that Cowboys defense, and I know he plays inconsistent. He's a rookie, though. It happens. But he plays well against that NFC East. He's averaging 24.5 PPR points against that division alone.
Oh, man.
For the tight end position, put Rob Gronkowski in your lineup. The Brady-Gronk connection is just as strong now as it ever has been. The last 3 weeks, Gronk and Brady have connected on a receiving touchdown, and New Orleans ranks third to last against tight ends in fantasy this year. Noah Fant should have a good game against the Falcons. He's looking more like the Fant we saw in week 1 and 2. Last week, he had 9 targets. He had 7 catches. And yes, it was only 47 yards, but he should continue rolling this week as the Falcons have given up the most fantasy points to tight ends this year. Defenses, start the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've been talking about it the whole time during the show that Steelers defense is insanely good this year. And they're going against a Cowboys offense that doesn't even know who to start at quarterback each week. Put the Patriots defense in your lineup against the Jets. I know the Patriots haven't really impressed too much this season, but you always got to start the defense playing against the Jets. You know that defense won't play bad enough to where they're going to lose the game. For my sits this week, I have Ryan Tannehill sitting against the Bears. You know, that Bears defense, they kind of shut down quarterbacks every week. As far as fantasy goes, Breeze didn't put many points up last week. The Titans have been struggling as well. They've lost 2 games in a row, and Tannehill hasn't surpassed 20 fantasy points in those 2 games. I'm sitting Ronald Jones this week for the Buccaneers in Sunday Night Football against the Saints. He's clearly been affected by the Leonard Fournette return to action. Fournette has outperformed and outtouched Ronald Jones the last 2 weeks, and the New Orleans Saints haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher in 50 straight games. They've also held 5 of their opponents to below 100 yards rushing as a team this season. So avoid Ronald Jones and maybe even avoid Leonard Fournette tonight. I'm sitting Darius Slayton for the New York Giants. Washington has given up the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers this season, and Slayton has been in a little bit of a fantasy slump. He's only averaged 9 points in his last 3 games, and he's fallen short of double-digit fantasy points in half his games this season. Sit Jimmy Graham against the Titans. We've seen, a couple games where Jimmy Graham's looked like the old Jimmy Graham, but he's nursing a sore hamstring and a sore knee this week. and he's kind of been a fantasy dud the last 3 weeks. He's fallen short of double-digit fantasy points every time. He hasn't scored a touchdown, nor has he topped 35 receiving yards. So avoid him this week until he proves that he's the old Jimmy Graham again. And then I'm sitting the Bears defense. They don't play particularly well against good offenses this year as far as fantasy goes. So the team looks good on defense, but they don't cause enough turnovers for them to start this week against the Titans. And that wraps it up for your Week 9 fantasy advice.
All right, Isaac, thank you so much for that information. All right.
Isaac, I have a question.
Yeah.
So the Cowboys are starting someone different
Gilbert.
this week?
Yep. Garrett Gilbert.
Garrett Gilbert.
Former Texas Longhorn.
Yeah, Longhorn.
And it could be someone different next week. You know, DiNucci only had 1 week to start at the quarterback, so it might just be a different guy every game. We don't know.
Well, I mean, what happened? Andy Dalton had a concussion. Then he has to sit out the I don't know what is it the until he passes the COVID. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Dalton is going to be the guy they turn to after this. But that's the hand they've been out.
Man, they got too much talent on offense to not put up some points. All right, moving along. This is actually my favorite segment of the show. Bold predictions for Week 9. Start off with Jerry.
Okay, man. I hope this one and I'm not doing this because Alia is on here, but my bold prediction is that the Colts beat the Ravens.
Sania.
I would say my bold predictions are, well, one is that Texas finally gets another win against the Jags. I mean, considering that they have that rookie, or the Jaguars have that rookie QB who's now taking the helm for the first time. So I say the Texans get another win, but this is not a game prediction. This is more so of a play prediction. The Panthers are going to give the Chiefs defense, a little bit of a struggle with Christian McCaffrey back.
Alia.
Like I said before, my bold prediction is the Saints are going to win. I don't think Jerry's prediction is bold. I think that should be a lock of the week.
Oh, hold on a minute.
Jerry don't jump. Jerry doesn't step out on the limb too far.
We'll see.
Isaac.
We'll see. Lamar Jackson is something special, but we'll see.
For my bold prediction, I think that Russell Wilson and Josh Allen will combine for over 700 yards passing in their matchup against each other, and the Bills come out on top.
Walter.
I don't know how bold of a prediction it really is, but I'm going to take the Bills over the Seahawks today. I think that Seattle lack of defense is going to finally catch up with them today.
Wow.
Coach.
The Dolphins will go into Arizona and beat the mighty Cardinals.
Hey!
I love how every week your bold predictions are so cinematic. they're Star Wars-esque in the tone.
Big one this week.
Coach, where's the offense going to come from? I know you watched that Dolphin game last week.
I think we're going to be asking both teams where the offense come from, because I think they're going to slow down the Cardinals, and I think the Dolphins are going to do just enough to find a way to win. We're going to be week 2 of Tua. I think he'll be better.
His brother also had a great game yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Oh,
back-to-back weeks, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
that crazy win that he had, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
Last second. But I'm a big fan of Tua. Man, let's see. That's going to be an interesting game, Coach.
All right. My bold prediction. I don't know if this is too bold. Well, I actually have 2, so I'll give you my first one. Tom Brady throws for 4 touchdowns tonight against the Saints. And I'd actually had said this on the podcast on Thursday. The Jets will beat the Patriots on Monday Night Football. Now, when I said that, I thought Sam Darnold was going to be able to play, but it looks like he's going to be out, and it's going to be Joe Flacco. But I'm going to stay with the Jets get their first win Monday night.
I am waiting for a comment from Kendall at any point.
You shouldn't expect it because he knows the Patriots are that bad. So just get the first win on Monday night. All right, lock of the week.
Wow, lock of the week. Well, I mean, for me, I'm gonna just go safe, man. I'm gonna say Buccaneers over the Saints.
The safe. Okay.
That ain't safe.
Okay.
Hey, New Orleans could very well beat Tampa tonight.
I'm sorry.
He said, "I'm gonna go safe."
I was expecting you to say the Steelers over the Cowboys.
That's what I was gonna say.
I was trying to add that cinematic approach, like Coach. You know what I mean? Like, geez.
That was a plot twist approach.
All right, Sunil.
I'm also gonna say that I'm gonna go with my safe bet, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers go 8-0 and take out Dallas.
Alia.
Like I mentioned before in the last segment, Indianapolis is coming off a 41-21 blowout win against Detroit. The Ravens have gone 0-6 in Indy, and they lost to even though the Colts aren't no Steelers, they lost the Steelers last week. So I'm gonna say very confidently the Colts are going to win today.
All right. They're not playing the Detroit Lions this week. Just to let you know, they're playing Baltimore Ravens. They're coming off a tough loss against Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'll just.
We've really been mixing up.
Baltimore is literally riddled. They are riddled with injuries. They are riddled with injuries. I'm just gonna say that. So.
Well, but the Baltimore is not. They're not a joke. They're
not Detroit.
Yeah, but Baltimore's not as good offensively as
you guys
Detroit.
are putting words in my mouth. I never said any of that. This is gonna come back and haunt me, but
well, yeah. the way you rid them off, like the way you just kind of like they're like, you treat them like they're the Cowboys.
Oh, Jerry.
All right, Isaac.
The obvious lock is the Steelers getting the win to improve to 8-0.
Walter.
Steelers. Mm-hmm. Cowboys have no chance at all. No way, Jerry. No way. No way.
Coach.
My lock of the week is the Patriots will beat the Jets.
I should have put a drum roll in there or something before you said that.
All right. Well, in the interest to be different from everyone else, I do agree. Steelers over the Cowboys. But come on, man. Let's go Raiders.
I was waiting Raiders. For it. I was surprised we hadn't heard it in the whole show. I was waiting for it.
Man, look, they won last week in the cold. They're going to be indoors. I mean, I just think the Raiders are going to beat the Chargers. So that's my lock of the week.
No, I was going to say the same thing, but I never say anything good about the Raiders on here, so I could.
But the Chargers are a tough team. That young quarterback, he's going to keep them in the game. So I'm preparing this one to be a shootout. I'm telling you right now.
Yes, the one thing about the Chargers is they love going up, but they love getting up the leads. So I mean, I can't pick them. So I'm gonna go with the Raiders this week. All right, and that's gonna go and wrap up this edition of Sunday morning kickoff on the East West football page. Thank you so much for watching, and you guys enjoy the game. Stay safe.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.